Hello and welcome to another video. This one is going to be about a game that is going to be coming out in 2021, Humankind. Now, if you've been a listener to the NoCB podcast, you'll have heard myself and the rest of the cast bring up Humankind quite a bit because it is a game that we are relatively excited about. This video, I will say, is going a little bit, it's not scripted. This is just me venting my thoughts about an event that I was recently invited to go to. So on last Friday, I was invited to take part in a small event with about half a dozen, no more than that, maybe a dozen creators, where we got to spend about 2 hours playing an early access version of the game. Now, it is by no means feature complete. This game, like I said, is going to be coming out in 2021. But from what I have played, the bit that I played was really quite fun. So if that's all you want, and to know if I had fun with Humankind, the small portion of it that I played, yes, I did, and you can log off now. But if you want to know a bit more, then by all means, stay tuned. So, like I said, we had 2 hours to play Humankind. We were limited into just playing the first era after the Neolithic era. Basically, we got to choose a culture that we could play as. And the way that Humankind works is, instead of I'm going to start the game and I'm going to play as the Romans, or I'm going to play as the Chinese, or I'm going to play as the Norse, or whatever, like you do in Civilization or Amplitude's previous game, Endless Legend. Instead, you start off as humans, and when you go to the next era, you can choose a culture to base your civilization on. Now, I went with the Harappans, which is an Indus Valley civilization from fucking ages and ages ago. And they were quite unique for never having... We have no evidence that they had a military, let's put it that way. Well, that's going to become a little bit more relevant in a moment, but let me just talk about the early part of my experience with Humankind. The start of the game is very much like Civilization in a way, though calling it a Civ clone, as I've seen quite a lot of people do so far, would be flat out false. This is not a Civ clone. This is something else entirely. It is closer to Endless Legend, if you've played that game, which you should do because it's actually quite excellent. It's closer to Endless Legend, but in a historical sense rather than Endless Legend's fantastical sense. So you start off as humans. When you get to the next era, you get to choose your culture. We had a few options. Like I said, I went with Harappans. I could have also gone with Babylonia. I could have gone with Egypt. And there's a couple more there that I've forgotten the names of. But I could have gone with them as well, which I didn't. So I went with the Harappans. I had a special unit called a Runner, which was the special unit of the Harappans, which was, pretty neat. Every culture gets their own special unit, and the way that you really start out the very, very early game before you even choose a culture is you go looking around the map for various types of knowledge. A little bit... I really hate to keep bringing up the example of Civilization, but it's a little bit like finding the ruins in Civ. So you go out and find these knowledge things on the map, expanding your knowledge and then, ranking up. And instead of ranking up in a way that, I've now just got more tech, like every time you rank up an era, you get to choose a new culture. So, as I said, I was the Harappans. If I'd gone to the next era, I could have chosen to become Roman, or Greek, or Mauryan, or I think Hittite was one. There was a ton of different cultures that I could have chosen to branch off into. And then when I went into the era after that, there'd be another bunch of cultures that I could branch off into. And so it's very interesting. You can just tailor make your empire the way that you want it to be. It's a very interesting system. Another really interesting system in it as well, this is the part that actually really did dig quite a bit, is victory conditions. So in your standard 4X game, you've got, your conquest victory, your military victory, you've got your culture victory, you've got your science victory, you've got your religious victory, all these different types of victories. And so each civilization that you choose would generally be really good at one specific type of victory. So you wouldn't see the Romans going for a science victory, or the I don't know enough about Civ. It's not my game, but you know what I mean. Instead, with Humankind, there are deeds, and basically, if you succeed in a deed, this can be something like being the first to discover writing, or conquering a certain amount of this, or having a certain amount of gold, different unique objectives. You will accrue fame, and now fame is what determines who wins. As it stands, the deeds are not set in stone. It's something I'm not allowed to show you because the list of them is not complete. So I can't show you the list of deeds, but you can sort of get the idea of what kind of thing is in there. And so it really doesn't matter what kind of thing you're famous for. Something that the devs said is, it doesn't matter what you are remembered for, it just matters that you are remembered. If you're remembered for being the most evil warlord conquering everything, that's fine. If you're remembered for being the person who discovered the most scientifically or culturally enriched the land or whatever, that would also be just fine. That would accrue fame, and if you're the most famous person at the end of the game, congratulations, you've won. It was a really fun system, and a goal for all of the people that were taking part in this pre-release event was to see who got the most fame in the 2 hours that we got to play. So, like I said, we got 2 hours to play. It was also the demo I'm just going to call it a demo, that we're playing also ended if we hit turn 60 or if we leveled up past the era that we're supposed to be playing in. So I waited until the 2 hours were up and then hit end turn. I think I was on like turn 40 before I ranked up, and I got 1700 and something fame, which I have no idea if that's good or bad, but I do know that I think I got that because I found a bug which gave me quite a lot of gold that I shouldn't have had. Obviously, very, very early access. The game is not coming out even this year, so you're probably not going to be experiencing that bug. And it was one that they were aware of anyway, so I guess that works out fairly well. But I got 1748 fame, which was cool. I'm happy enough with that. And as the Harapans, who, if you remember, were very peaceful like, I completely conquered my continent, which included the civilizations of Babylon and Egypt, so they did. Speaking of conquest as well, combat in this game is more Endless Legend-like than it is like the Civilization, which, like I said, I hate to keep bringing up Civilization, but it is the biggest 4X game in existence, and comparisons will always be made. They're both 4X games, they both have hex-based tiles, they have cities, they have units. The comparison is going to be made, so I need to just stop apologizing for making it. So, yeah, as the peaceful Harapans, I peacefully conquered my neighbors and got quite a lot of points. Yeah, so battles are interesting in that basically instead of just having a unit and your unit goes up to an enemy unit and stabs him or shoots him or whatever, engaging with another army, because you can have more than one unit in a single square from the very start of the game, it will basically do something similar to the way that it works in Endless Legend, where a portion of the map will turn into a battlefield, and your units will be fighting on that battlefield over a set amount of turns that aren't they aren't the game turns, but like combat turns. And there's also a capture the flag style element to it as well. Again, this is also something that is a work in progress. The version that I played did not have the updated battle system, but we were shown a video of that after the fact, of the fully updated, or I don't know if it's fully updated, but an updated version of the combat system. And to make that hateful comparison to Civ, combat in Humankind shits all over Civ. It just does. It just does. So just deal with it. I should probably have said this right at the very start, but I'm not a Civ player by any means. Civilization is something that I haven't played since before I found Crusader Kings 2, because Crusader Kings kind of just, it was the historical game, and Civ just couldn't hold a torch to it. So that's that. If I'm being a bit harsh on Civ, it's because I don't like it, if that makes sense. But anyway, to go back to Humankind and all of the good stuff that's in it. Another interesting part about this that I haven't really seen in too many other 4X games is terrain, and it's very... I'm trying to explain how terrain is different in a way that sounds accurate to what I saw. Basically, there were more than 2 levels of terrain, right? There's not just, oh, this is a hill, and if you're on a hill, then you're doing better damage than if you were on, flat land. There are hills, and there are, if you are on a hill, you will do better than someone's on grassland. But then there would be a hill above that hill, and then above that one as well. The terrain isn't hill and flat, it's, Y level 0 and Y level 1 and Y level 2, and I don't know how much it goes up to, but there are multiple levels. So yeah, you may be able to get a high ground bonus over your enemy, but then there might be some terrain just a little bit over there that's got a height bonus on you as well. So positioning in combat isn't just a case of, well, there's a hill, I'll go stand there. It's actually quite tactical, which is something I really appreciate. In fact, there was a time in the demo that I was playing, I was basically finishing off my enemies. I think I'd already completely wiped out Babylon, and I was just fighting the Egyptians. So I went down to fight the Egyptians, and they had one city left. And this city, it wasn't too impressive. It wasn't their main area. It wasn't their capital. But it was a city that I needed to take so that I would, remove them from the map. The thing is, there was only 2 entrances into the city because of the terrain. And because of that, it was really, really quite difficult to actually conquer it. It'll give you a little bit of a... oh, your army is stronger than your opponent's army before you initiate a combat, but it doesn't really take into account if the enemy is in a city or if it's got good terrain, or whether you can even attack, with all your units at once. So I was only able to attack with 2 units per turn. The enemy was in a city, they had the high ground advantage, and I ended up winning the battle, but I lost 3 of my units, and my final unit was on 7 health out of 100. So, yeah, terrain plays a huge, huge part, and honestly, that's really, really cool. Speaking of cities, and again, this video is not scripted, so I'm just ranting off from memory, and like I said, I played the event on Friday, and it is now Sunday, so my memory might be a bit spotty as well. But there are, in the case of cities, there are regions. Now, you start off with just some nomads. You don't have a city at all. But once you have your capital city, you have a region of land around your city that will never move, right? These regions are set in stone. And so you put your city down, you've now got this region, and you can build your little city improvements around. The Harappans had a special city improvement called a canal. So, every individual culture might have some special building, which is, it's pretty cool. So I had the canal. There are other special buildings that you could make as well, and you could expand your city from there. There are also some special resources on the map, and you could exploit those, and you could build your special city improvements adjacent only to your city or to the resources. So what would be a really cool sort of system is to put your city away from the resources so that you can have the most amount of area possible, you know, as city improvements. And that's something that I didn't get until after I was playing for a while. I was like, oh yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And it just makes you think a little bit more about where you place your cities, because while you do want to be in places that have high resource output, so your cogs, your food, your science, your gold, you don't want to put them next to your special resources, which generally I found there to be 2 per region. And yeah, you don't want to put them right next to it, because then that just limits the size of your cities. You can also build outposts in other regions to basically claim it, and while they won't get, I believe, the production or the food, or it might be production or science, they weren't able to basically get 2 of the resources, but 2 of the others they were. They can also still get the special resources, and you can also turn them into cities if you want as well. Apparently you can also merge cities as well, but I didn't manage to get that done. So cities can be pretty damn huge, especially if you merge a city. So your city can be over 2 full regions or more, perhaps, I don't know. Then that could be really powerful. These outposts, they're quite weak as well. It's very, very easy to take an outpost, yeah, it's pretty fun. It's as far as a 4X game goes, it's probably one of my favorite ones. I can't remember having as much fun with other 4X games. Like I said, 4X is not really my thing. But having said that, I had a really good time, and I am looking forward to playing more of it. So I'm going to end this video here. I want to thank you all very much for watching. If you want to check out Humankind, then there will be links in the description. I also would like to mention that they have OpenDev thing going on right now as well, where basically you can register to be a bit of a beta tester, really. OpenDev is something where you sign up and they will give you scenarios to play, like Beneath Our Hooves, King of the Hill, Loot and Pillage, Wading into Battle, Hold the Fort, all these different types of scenarios. Basically, you get to play Humankind in various situations, give your feedback, and be a little bit of a part of the development, which is pretty cool. And I am also going to be signing up for OpenDev because, like I said, I want to play more of this game because it's fun. So yeah, that's the situation with Humankind. If you want to sign up for the OpenDev thing that they've got going on, there will be links for that in the description. Links for everything that I've basically spoken about in the description. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.